What's up guys, my name's Luke and welcome back to Motion and Design. So this is going to be part 2 in my flower creating tutorial. Last week I showed you guys how to create the flower. If you guys haven't watched that, yeah, go watch last week's video. It's a pretty cool one, showing you guys how to create a dynamic flower quite procedurally. I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So yeah, this is going to be part 2. I'm going to show you guys how to light and texture it. So yeah, this one probably isn't going to be too long. Or maybe it will be, I guess we'll find out at the end. But yeah, it's just going to be kind of breaking down how at least how I textured the flower. I'm not sure if this is how to accurately texture a flower, but it's at least how I textured the flower. So yeah, before we get into it, if you're interested in the project file, it'll be up on Patreon. And yeah, there's a bunch of other project files over there and some tutorials. So yeah, if you guys want to support me, you can do that. Or you can just like and subscribe. That also goes a long way. And comment, because that helps with engagement for some reason. But yeah, I mean, let's get into this video. Cool, so I've got my flowers set up from last week's tutorial. If you guys haven't got it up, get it up and let's get into it. Cool, so I'm just gonna let it play for a little bit, just so that at least we're... Oh, sorry, I put in a new project file, so there's... Cool, that's fine. We just want a frame where there's just some sort of dynamics with it. Let's go and add in a camera. Let's set this up. I'm gonna go with a focal length of maybe like 130. Maybe just find a nice frame. I think that works quite well. Let's go and create a plane. Let's go over here just so that we can use this as our main camera, and then if we go over here to camera, we can select perspective, and so now we can move around our scene. Let's also just change this to ground shading. Sorry, NA. This is just going to be our back plates. Let's press play. Awesome, let's go over here, redshift lights, let's add a dome light, and let's take the color and put it to black so that we're working with nothing. Let's add another light. We're going to use an area light. Let's bring this back here, rotate it 90 degrees, not 85. Minus 90. Let's just line this up. Let's make the spread just a little bit tighter, something like that. I think something like that works. Cool. Let's create a texture for our backboard over here. Let's go and drop this onto our plane. And we're going to use a max on noise. So you don't need to do this. I just wanted it that there was just some subtle variation in the background. It's going to be very subtle though. So let's go sort of this, and let's maybe put this to 10, maybe 50 actually. Yeah, I think something like that is actually perfect. Cool, so I've got my colors set up over here, just so I can use the exact same colors that I did use. It's going to be this blue, and then it's going to be this darker blue. Cool, just like that. That's all we really want. If you want, you can add some bump to it, but because it's going to be out of focus, it doesn't really matter too much. Cool, so that's the background for us. Let's go and just add some basic lighting to our flower. So I think usually when you're working with something like subsurface scattering, it is pretty good to set up your lighting, at least like the basics of your lighting beforehand. Just because of the way that the light's going to go through the subject. It changes a lot depending on the actual lighting in the scene. So yeah, I just recommend doing a basic lighting setup beforehand. You can always go in afterwards and adjust it, but I think it is just a good point of reference to at least start with some lighting. Cool, so we want to set up a backlight that's coming in, and then we just want a main light that's going to be coming in from the top. I'm going to set the spread to be quite harsh. Something, I think something like that looks nice. So we still get these nice shadows over here, but we are lighting it up. Maybe just a tiny bit of an angle. yeah, I think that looks quite nice. We can always adjust it later, but I think this is a good starting point so we can start texturing. Cool, so we could start texturing right now, but if we had to texture it right now, everything is going to be exactly the same color-wise. So what we want to do is we want to select our cloner over here, go to MoGraph and add a random effector. Let's turn off our position, but we want to turn on effector color. And now you can see that each one of these levels is a different color. If you wanted that each petal is a different color, just add it to the first cloner, because then it's going to have every individual petal be a different color. But I think for us, every layer will work quite well. Cool. So let's go create redshift material standard. Let's apply this to our cloner. Let's go into our cloner our material over here, and let's add a color user data. Let's plug this into our color. And it's just going to be black for now. We're going to go to MoGraph and color. Now each of them are going to be its represented color. Let's add a ramp. Cool. I have my colors set up over here. You guys can use different colors, but if you want to use the exact same colors that I did, just copy down the hex code over here. These are the wrong colors. I don't understand why it came through like that, but it's okay, we can adjust it. So just do a little bit of fiddling around with it till you get your desired look. Just because of the fact that we are using a ramp, you can see that depending on where these are, it changes the color. So just kind of mess around until you find something that you're happy with. I think that's fine. We have a nice bit of variety in this, and that's kind of what I want. Yeah, I also just want that middle one to be the darker one. Cool, I think that looks nice for now. Let's take our ramp and plug it into our subsurface color. While we're here, bump up the roughness all the way. We don't want any roughness in it. And in our subsurface scattering, let's turn this all the way up. So we want it to be a little bit more see-through. So let's go to our scale and set this to about 10. You can also set this to thin-walled. If you want to get a different result, you'll obviously have to change the lighting because it makes it like really thin. That is one way of doing it. So yeah, give that a test. But I think for my thing, I only use just the subsurface scattering at around 10. Cool. So this is our baseline over here. Just while I'm here, let me just adjust the slide a bit so that we're getting a little bit more lighting. Little tip, if you go to camera, use camera and use selected object, you can move around the scene and kind of set up the lights like this, which can be quite useful sometimes. I think that's a little bit better for now, just so I can see what I'm doing. Cool. Let's go and add a Maxon noise. And let's add a bump. Let's take our Maxon noise, put that into our bump layer, and let's solo this. Cool, so I'm going to set this to 0.1 so that we have it quite small. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to create these kind of like streaks to it. So let's add this 10 and let's make this a 100. And now look, we have these really nice streaks that are going up, which kind of give us the illusion as if it is like a pedal. It's a nice way of doing it procedurally. And let's just bump up our bump. We can set it to like 10. It's not displacement, so it won't make that big of a difference. But you can see now, well, hopefully you can see, but there are our little lines that are going up now, which is exactly what we want. Cool. So that's the basics of this part of the rendering. Of the material. Now what we want to do is, at the moment, this is quite nice, but how I want it is that I wanted the ends of it to be kind of like transparent. So we can do that with some opacity, but we can also do it a little bit better. So let's go and add in a blender. Let's add a material blender over here. And then let's also add a material. Let's go and look for a standard material. Let's take our standard material and bump this into our material color. Let's just solo this. I'm going to use this Maxon noise into the color over here. I'm going to bump the roughness all the way up. And then what I'm going to look for is a curvature node. So let's go curvature. And what I'm going to do with this is change this to one of these. I think this first one kind of works. I'm just going to add this into our transmission over here. Sorry, not transmission. Wait. The main reason I'm doing this is just so that there's a tiny bit of variety in like the see-throughness of it. So there's just kind of like certain areas are kind of see-through. It kind of, it's kind of glassy, but because it's fully rough, it kind of has this kind of like transparentness through it. Cool. Let's also add a ramp. Let's solo our ramp over here. And what we're going to do, what this is saying is that the parts that are black are going to be fully transparent and the parts that are white are not going to be transparent. But we don't want it to be fully transparent. We only want it to be kind of like gray. And we're going to plug this into our opacity over here. Let's plug this into our transmission. Wait. Let's see what this looks like. Nice. And now you can see that just the ends over here, we're getting this really nice like see-throughness, but it's still not completely see-through. It just has this, I don't know, kind of like opaqueness to it. You can adjust that just by adjusting this. I mean, the more white you go, the less transparent it is. You just kind of fiddle around until you find something that you're happy with. Let's go and add one more thing so that we can mix between the two of these, and we're going to look for a Fernel. So this is what we're going to use to mix between these two materials. I mean, this material over here is just this, but let's go and add a ramp over here just so we can clamp these values down a little bit. Let's put in the alt input and then into our blend color over here. Let's just clamp this down a bit. I think something like that works. And this might happen. All you need to do is just refresh. And now look, we have a pretty cool and pretty realistic looking flower. Obviously you can change things up a bit. It does look a little bit desaturated. I bumped that up in post, but you could do that right now just by changing up the colors and changing up the, making this a little bit more saturated if that's what you want to do. I did it in post, but yeah, it's up to you guys. You can kind of do what you want. I just liked the base look of this. Cool, so that's pretty much the basics of here. I guess the only other thing that we can do is just maybe add a displacement. We can plug this into our displacement over here, and let's use our max on noise as our displacement. And then just don't forget to add a, where is our flower? Here's our flower. Just to turn on displacement over here. I'm not going to do it for now, but I mean for render you can turn this on just so that we can get a bit more bump in it if that is what you're looking for. Cool, I'm just going to turn that off for now just so that we can work a little bit faster. Now the other thing that we need to texture is this middle part. Let's go and create another material. And we're going to put this onto our sphere over here. I can't remember what it's called again. I searched it in the last one. It was in the tutorial. But yeah, can't remember what it's called. Cool, so we want to have it pure black and we want to turn the roughness all the way up. So at the moment it's just, this black void over there. That's fine. Let's go and add a max on noise and a bump. Let's plug these in. Let's just solo our noise so we can see what we're doing. And let's set this to something like 0.1. I think that works. And we're going to bump this up quite a bit to something like 10. So now you can see that we have these little bumps on it. Let's make it even like 20. So they're a little bit more prominent, the bumps. But at the moment it's still just this like dark void. But what's going to make it look really nice is we're going to use sheen. So let's turn this all the way up. And what we're going to do is we're just going to select a nice orange color. And now just like that, we have this dark kind of middle thing. I have no idea what it's called, but it looks nice and that's really all that matters over here. So yeah, that's pretty much the basics of, the flower over here. You can now go in and add some color correction. I usually like to do this in post so that I don't bake it in, but I mean, we might as well just do a tiny bit of it now. Bump up the contrast. Let's just add like a basics, just like a nice little S over here, that S curve. Maybe add a tiny bit of blue. So it's like barely happening. Something like that is fine. Yeah, I mean, you can obviously do more to it, but I think for now, this works pretty well. The only other thing that I did in my scene that I didn't show in the previous tutorial is that I took these individual petals over here, and all that I did, might as well show you actually, while we're here, we got my petal over here that is not dynamic, but if we take this cloth tag and put it onto it, it will become dynamic. Let's go throw this into a cloner. Let's go into my protective over here. Oh, nope, that is the just gonna go out of the camera. Cloner, and let's set this to grid. Let's add some more leaves over here. Let's make sure that our cloth tag is on there. Let's go MoGraph random, and let's add some rotation. 360, 360, 360. Neither one of those with 360. 360, just so we have a bunch of randomness over here. And let's maybe just add like one more over there. So these might be colliding. I'm not going to worry too much about it. And then all I did was just add a rotation. And let's go over here into our forces and say include rotation. Pretty sure the rotation is going to be on the wrong axis. Let's rotate this upwards. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Nice, and so now we have these floating petals that are not rotating. Why are they not rotating? Hello, listen to me. I guess they are rotating, but very weirdly. Why is that happening? For rotation, maybe we just need to add a spherical field. Just add this into here. See if that solves our problem. Ooh, that is very cool, but definitely not what we're looking for. Why is that happening? Oh, maybe it's because we have our vertex map on it. I think that's the reason. I think in the mix animation over here, let's turn that off. Ah, that was our problem. So we don't need it to be doing it that fast. Something subtle like that. You can go to like 75. Let's just make these a bit smaller. So let's go to make this like 0.5. And then in our random over here, let's just add a tiny bit of scale, maybe like 0.5. Let's go back. Let's go into our camera, and we can turn back on our cloner. And now we have our flower dynamically moving with these petals floating around. So I'm not going to show you guys how to do the motion blur, just because I learned how to do it from someone else. It's Vincent Schwick. I could be messing up his name over there. But yeah, he did this, or actually it was a friend of his, Ian Frederick, I think that's what his name is. He did a tutorial on his Patreon showing you guys how to do this motion blur. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's just literally just adding motion blur, but just out of respect, I'm not gonna show how to do it. So yeah, go support them. But yeah, that's pretty much the basics of this tutorial. Let's just go and add our material onto our plane over here. And the only other thing that you can do with this is just create another version of this material, add a random effector to our cloner over here so that you get some variations in the color. And then yeah, you have a very beautiful render. All it needs is just some more lighting just to make this pop a little bit more, because the lighting is just, it's not that grand right now. Do I do that? Yeah, might as well. Let's go and add just one more light. So this always happens. I'm like, yeah, it'll be a quick tutorial, and here we are 20 minutes in. It's fine. Sure you guys don't mind. Let's just make sure that we have our camera frozen over there. And let's go and add maybe just one more light. Let's just make it like a top-down light that just kind of fills up. I can see now that that bloom is way too much. As usual, I like doing this type of stuff in post. I think that actually just solves our problem. Yeah, I think if I was doing this better, I think I'd spend a little bit more time on the lighting, but you guys get the basics of it. Yeah, now we have a pretty nice looking flower. The only thing I'll just light a little bit differently is our little thing in the middle over there. I really need to learn what that thing is called. I'm just going to make it just not pure dark, maybe like 4%, just so that it just catches a little bit more light. I think that works. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, learned some techniques on texturing, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, again, if you guys are interested in the project file, it'll be on my Patreon. And yeah, other than that, like and subscribe would go a long way. But anyways, I will see you guys next week. Peace.